you guys seen the film The Last Temptation of Christ? Mm-hmm. Do you recall the scene at the end of the movie when Jesus has, lived and become an old man, and he sees his old friend who's preaching about all the stuff that Jesus supposedly did, like dying on the cross and all that, and Jesus says to his old friend, "I never did any of that stuff, you're lying." And the guy says, "Maybe you didn't do it, but it's still important for me to say it, The story of you is more important than you really are." That to me is how I think about America and our many promises that we haven't brought to reality yet, and maybe never will. But, I'm still able to love America. My own idea of America remains important to me, even though it's not the same as what America really is. You know what I'm saying?
There'll be no more cattle in the cars on the Garden State Parkway. No waiting for the fun walk bus to carry me to who knows where. And when I stand tonight near the lights of the Fenway, when I yell like hell for the glory of the Newark Bears. 'Cause where I'm going to now, no one can ever hurt me. When the well of human hatred is shallow and dry. Oh, I never wanted to change the world, but I'm looking for a New Jersey. 'Cause tramps like us, baby, we were born to die.
Our record talks about this period in the 19th century when, the northern part of our country, the United States, and the southern part, had this military conflict with each other because they couldn't find a way to get along, to agree. And, they were doing all these horrible things and stuff. And it got me thinking about, throughout history, people, the ways that they choose to channel their aggressions and their frustrations, and the way that the frustrations of individuals can kind of snowball into, like, big, horrible things like our country experienced during that period. And it's my thinking that if we as humans stop trying to pass the buck, so to speak, about our own happiness or fulfillment, that we would be a lot happier on the whole. Because from that time, we still have a lot of things that remain, aftershocks, so to speak, institutional racism and stuff like that, and all of, all sorts of kinds of systemic oppression. My perception of the world is very limited, obviously, as I am only just one little man in a great big universe. But from where I stand, it all looks like pretty much the same thing.
You'll always be a loser. 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 You'll always be a loser.
I am an American, so I can only really talk about what it's like in America, trying to practice a little cultural relativism in honor of my favorite band, Crass. You know that band? They were from England, so because they talked about all this revolutionary stuff, they never even performed outside of England, because they thought that it would be messed up for them to try and go somewhere and tell people how they should be behaving when they don't really understand their system and the way that their society works. So I wouldn't necessarily want to do that here in France, which I don't really understand. But if French people could find something of their own experience in what we're talking about, then that would certainly be a wonderful thing.
And should the shit hit the fan, I just pray you'll not be spared. Fuck yeah! So much room for love, filled it with hatred and rage. Till I was the left my fruit to shrivel up and die.
If you're a guy like me, I'm a white man, and I come from, you know, a family that, you know, had like plenty of money when I was young. Not like a ton, but like certainly enough. It would have been super easy to just play my cards right and, you know, just jump through the right hoops and stuff. And, you know, now I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. I'd be at some awesome job making a ton of money, which I could then take and turn into something that would let everybody know that I once had all the money. You know, like a nice car or something. Why didn't I do that? I don't know. I guess I'm pretty much just a dumbass. One time in the car, you know, when our first record had come out, me and my father were going someplace, and he was like, you know, this angst of yours, it's all just like manufactured, right? Like this is a put on, yeah? And I was like, I was pretty upset that my dad would think that I would just be taking a piss about serious stuff like that. My dad was confused about my artistic intentions at that point. So I figured it'd be a good time to set him straight. Tell my dad that I'm keeping it real. Because, you know, parents want the best for their children. My dad doesn't want to think about me wallowing in misery.
Okay, it's worked out pretty well thus far. But when they see the kind of person that you really are, then you won't be laughing so hard. No, you won't be laughing so hard. No, you won't be laughing. You won't be laughing. No, you won't be laughing. You won't be laughing. No, you won't be laughing. You won't be laughing. No, you won't be laughing so hard.
Only I can make myself happy. But it's definitely fun to be in the band. And I'm feeling probably less self-loathing now than at any point previous in my life. Does that have anything to do with being in the band? Is it just being older and wiser? Is it any other thing in my life? Who knows? I don't like to think about things like hope, goals, expectations, stuff like that. Rather, my only hope is that I can conduct myself in the most ethically sound way possible. And whatever happens for our species, for my country, or, you know, for the world, whatever happens, at least I will know that I conducted myself in the best way that I know how. You know, because is there any other currency in the world besides that? You know, our little punk group is going to play down the street in a few hours and, you know, probably won't mean a lot in the grand scheme of things, cosmically speaking, but, you know, perhaps that will have proven to be the right thing to do on this particular evening. And hopefully, you know, the little part of history that I will occupy will have been spent in the most effective way that I can, whatever that turns out to be.